Hi everyone, Sam and I are back, and we're super excited to be working with Tailored Expressions for this installment of Too Many Cards. Tailored Expressions is our generous sponsor, and Sam and I are featuring the Sarcasti-chick and Sarcasti-chicklets bundles. As always, all of the supplies I use in this video are linked below. Tailored Expressions has a whole series of Sarcasti-chick stamp sets and accessories, and I'm going to need the entire collection after using these. The images are adorable, and the sentiments are hilariously, well, sarcastic, and just my thing. In fact, I can imagine making a card for each of these sentiments with specific friends in mind. Using these red rubber cling stamps have made me nostalgic since I used plenty of these back before photopolymer stamps became popular. As indicated on the packaging, the images are bigger than shown on the front. I'm not sure of the percentage, but to me they're significantly bigger, about 50%, and that's perfect for clean and simple card making. Also, I love that the Sarcasti-chicklets stamp set can work well on its own, but of course it's better with the original Sarcasti-chick bundle. This one includes frizzy hair and an apron, which makes the sentiments even funnier. I have 2 samples to show you, so let's get started. Since these are red rubber cling stamps, I will remove the foam insert from the MISTI stamping tool. I'm going to stamp 4 sheets of all these images, so I have plenty to use. I'm stamping the images on watercolor cardstock using VersaFine pigment ink. Then I'll heat emboss them with superfine clear embossing powder. The only images that aren't already cut apart are the faces. The Sarcasti-chick set comes with 6 different expressions for the chick, and the Sarcasti-chicklets set comes with 4 additional faces. I love seeing every single one of them, and there are so many that you'll always find the perfect one for any scene you can dream up for each sentiment. It's easy to cut them apart. Use any sharp craft knife. You can simply cut them straight across and use them just like that, but I like to cut around the stamping area. This makes it easier for me to know exactly where the face will be stamped since I can't see through these stamps. I center the face on the chick, ink up the rubber, stamp it, and heat emboss it. I just love the dazed look of this chick with her tongue hanging out. Now it's time to watercolor all of the images, and I'll put on some music and speed through this process 20 times. After the coloring is done, I line up the dies and run them through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. They're so easy to line up, and I love seeing all the images cut out. They're even funnier than they were before, especially when the chicks are all dressed up, surrounded by their crazy chicklets. The only image that doesn't have a die is the wine bottle, but it's easy enough to fussy cut. I tried to match the width of the edge of the die, so it's hard to tell that it was cut by hand. For my first card, I'm going to use the sentiment that reads, "We'll be friends to the end." Underneath that, it says in brackets, "because you already know too much." I'm pretty sure we all have a friend, or several friends, that sentiment is perfect for. Since these images are the star of the card, I want to ink blend a simple background, so I mark the horizon and apply a strip of masking tape. I'm using the Tailored Expressions blender brushes, and these are incredible. I actually want to get a second set, and they just so happen to be on sale until tomorrow night. So run to the store, don't stop. They're 30% off, which is an incredible deal. First I use the same blue ink as the apron to blend the wall behind the chicks, and then I use the same gray that I used on the bellies, the feet, and the hair to blend the floor. Before stamping the sentiment, I stamp it on a piece of scrap paper to make sure it's straight. Then I use my magic embossing bag to ensure the embossing powder doesn't stick to other areas of the card. To finish, I use glue dots to attach the chicks to the card. I noticed there were a couple of ink spots that transferred from my hand to the card. I use a superfine white gel pen to cover up those spots, and my card is done. Aren't these chick friends the best? I love their facial expressions, and I bet my friend will know who's who, even though I don't have short frizzy hair. That's exactly why I need the rest of the Sarcasti-chick collection, so I can create different hairstyles and outfits. Now it's time to create my second card. I've had this idea floating in my head for a while, and these were the perfect stamps to use with it. I'm going to use the sentiment that reads, "It's not drinking alone if there are children screaming outside the closet door." I'm using a plain rectangle die to cut the door into the front panel of the card. and I'm going to partial die cut it so there's a hinge and the door can open and close. It's pretty much an interactive card, but it's really simple and fun. The way I do this is tape the die in place where I want the door to be in the scene. I place the panel on my cutting plate in the Spellbinder's Platinum 6 die cutting machine. I place the top plate on the 3 edges that I want to cut and leave the door hinge section unsandwiched. That way it doesn't cut that portion. I run it through and then I take my scoreboard and score along the hinge to finish the door. The hinge just so happens to be at the 2-inch mark from the left edge of the panel, so that was easy. Now it's time to heat emboss the sentiment on the door. Initially I thought about stamping the sentiment on the inside of the door, but I thought that it was better to stamp it on the front so that the scene wasn't too plain and the recipient would know exactly what was hiding behind the door. Again, I do the test on a scrap piece of paper to make sure it's straight, and then I heat emboss the sentiment. Since the card front is pretty plain, making the door almost invisible, I decided to sponge the corners where the floor meets the door, and where natural shadows might fall. Also, the mom is hiding in the closet, so maybe her house isn't the cleanest with all those chicklets wreaking havoc. In fact, I'm sure we're all feeling the way this chick is feeling with the pandemic still raging on. I keep asking myself, can this be over? I use the same blue as the apron, and then I add some yellow and orange under the door as if there's a light in there, perhaps from her phone, because when the kids open the door it'll be dark. After all, she is hiding in there, and we'll pretend she's not there for as long as possible. I also add some gray for the floor. Now I can start to assemble the card. I attached a piece of dark gray cardstock behind the door, then attached the front panel to a piece of patterned paper. I offset it so it only shows at the top and left edges. Then I adhere all 3 layers by centering the white panel on the card base. I love that you can ever so slightly see the diagonal stripes through the front panel. You'll notice that I stamped the chicklets screaming, "Mom, Mom, Mom, Mom," on the wall, but I didn't like it in black. It was just too stark, so I re-stamped the speech bubble in blue and orange. I attach a blue speech bubble with glue dots and pop up the orange one with foam tape. I also pop up all 3 chicklets with foam tape for visual interest, and also because the door doesn't close completely, so it doesn't matter if the card isn't flat. For a doorknob, I find an exact color match in the form of a glitter enamel dot, and I attach to the door with a glue dot for extra security. Also, if the recipient tries to use the enamel dot as a real handle, I want to be sure it doesn't come off. To finish, and to add depth in the scene, I lightly sponge blue ink around the edges of the door. Now my card is done. I really love the way this turned out, and I already showed the recipient. We had a good laugh over it. I hope you're inspired to give this design a try, and I would love to see your version. Here's a recap of the 2 cards I made with the Tailored Expressions Sarcasti-chick and Sarcasti-chicklet bundles. There was a lot of heat embossing and coloring in the beginning, but when you put all these adorable images and fun sentiments together, the cards are so easy to make. I can't decide which one I like more. I love the color concentration and details on the first card, and the facial expressions on those chicks are so funny. I also love the interactive element on my second card, and it all seems so simple, yet it has so many little details. What do you think? I'd love to hear all your ideas. Be sure to leave a comment here and on Sam's YouTube channel for your chance to win one of 2 $25 gift certificates to the Tailored Expressions store. Comments will close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on June 17, 2020, and the winner will be announced before our next Too Many Cards videos go live. Please check back to see if you've won. Thanks so much for all your love and support for this video series. If you enjoyed today's video, please click on the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Be sure to head to my blog for all the details, more photos, and a full supply list. Thanks so much for watching!